belief that it's for an education is just a joke, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but I like in the NBA where these guys can speak out.
Gary Jimenez through the glass.
Shout out to Gary Jimenez.
Shout out to the Vice President of Politics for SCIU 10-1.
10-1. Jimenez. Must be a busy guy.
He's a very busy guy.
Very busy guy.
He and I will be at a rally later on that rent gouging thing.
Oh, when is that?
A press event, 3:30 p.m. in San Francisco.
Oh, well.
So we can only go for a few more hours.
Is that a swatch?
It's not a swatch. It's a.
Oh, you've got the band on there. Okay.
No, that's a friendship band.
A friendship
that my
band.
10-year-old made. All of us, all the parents got friendship bands for at summer camp.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. There's no electronics. They go to a sleepaway camp.
No, wait a minute, what?
They go to a sleepaway camp.
Okay.
It's their second year going. My wife went there. Her sister, cousins, her uncle.
Oh, it's a tradition.
It's a family-run camp. They sleep outdoors. They ride horses, archery. Whatever. They have downtime. They write letters home. They go for 2 weeks.
Like
it's amazing.
Cloverleaf Ranch.
That's somewhere up where you live. It's got to be right. Yeah. This is like
a wild stab.
5 hours away.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of somewhere outside of Delano.
But so the NBA guys, at least like LeBron can call Trump a bum if he feels like it, and the owners aren't going to blackball him.
That's right. Know? They can't even take a knee in the NFL now without getting harassed.
Harassed more than that, you know, blacklisted.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can agree or not agree with Kaepernick, but
I don't think you're supposed to use that term anymore, by the way.
Blacklisted.
I got to tell you that. Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure there's
That's
like
good.
No, I'm just,
I'm glad I know now.
I'm not a purist, but I'm progressive. Finally.
I know.
Visually, if you could see, I just got a little gap.
Yeah. There's a tiny
thumb and my
gap.
index finger.
But, yeah, you can be, basically your living be taken away in the NFL if you speak out about anything.
That's right.
Whether it's a player, I mean, they talk
Are they
about
still nonprofits? Because why we haven't changed.
Oh,
I feel like NFL is like the only
monopoly thing, right? The monopoly exemption.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get so much bullshit. And again, everybody's like, well, these guys are millionaires. Who cares? They bash their brains in, and they do it in the service of billionaires who could care, care less. NBA, complete opposite. Coaches speak out. Everybody, at least freedom of speech applies in the NBA.
What do you think is different about that? Is it just the ownership setup, you think?
Honestly, am I being honest?
I mean, I won't know. I know.
Nobody's listening anyway. No, I think the biggest thing is the number of people playing available and the size of the teams. So in the NBA, you've got 12 active people on a team. Mm-hmm. So I think inherently because of the scarcity, each player is more valuable.
I see what you're saying.
And they have more individual power because there's less of them on a team. In other words, they're not as replaceable as a, middle linebacker, right?
I wonder if the ownership, it feels to me like there's more of a corporate flavor to the ownership in the NFL than there is they are corporations in the NBA, but I feel like they're more like Hall of Famers and ex-players that are managing and running teams
it's like a party
in the NBA,
man.
Yeah. And I can't help but think that informs the way they operate, the way they treat their players, the way they,
Right. No, the NBA just gets it right. In fact, the 2019 NBA, I don't know if you're a big basketball fan or not.
No,
I am.
I'm not. I like to watch it,
but we are
in the last 2 minutes.
We are like in a generational new age of basketball. It's just awesome. Yeah. It's like it's its own thing. You've got like eras, and we're just in the middle of a great era. And of course, we're in the Bay Area.
And we're in the Bay Area. We're lucky.
We're lucky. So, what do you guys got going in SF Labor coming up?
Coming up, we have a few major.
What's on the horizon for the fall and winter of 2019?
For the fall, some interesting research, project work. We're partnering with the UC Berkeley Labor Center to study where our workers live, where they still live, especially those that live in San Francisco, and at what income level, like what their household income level is. You can get way in the weeds on housing policy.
You guys aren't going to be going down to build a wall down south.
No, we're going to go to our union leaders and say, anonymize the data and tell us who lives in San Francisco, break it down by zip code, and try to identify what their household income level is, which you might think is easy, but it's actually quite complicated because you have to, an individual union might be able to say, oh, this member is a member of our educator union. We know they make this range of salary.
Or it could be
annually,
skewed too
but their spouse may be a city worker or a private sector janitor or a stay-at-home, whatever. So we're going to try to get into that data and use a team of research students at UC Berkeley for the fall semester to really get into that data, get it all to match and sync it up, combine it with other data sources that we can reach out and access, voter files and things like that. And then try to come up with a single database that tells us by zip code where everybody's living in and what types of jobs they're working in and at what household income levels, with the hopes that in March we could have another group of students actually explore kind of policy conclusions and try to draw conclusions from that work so we could better inform the question of who should we be building housing for and what kind of consideration should law make, because every talking head at City Hall in San Francisco wants to champion workforce housing.
Right. We know what the problem is.
Right. And every union leader has a sense of like where their membership's at. But when you talk about household income and when you talk about affordability of housing and being eligible for any of the assistance, down payment assistance programs or any of the other housing assistance programs, it's all about AMI. It's all about what your income level is for the household. And nobody seems to have that data. So we've actually
that's amazing.
We actually had developers asking us at the Labor Council, what's the median? And, we have this broad spectrum. We have firefighters, right?
Right.
And we have planners.
Oh, the Labor Council.
Engineers. We have janitors, hotel workers,
which is a huge voice
passenger service workers at the airport. We have all this broad spectrum. So we're going to try to really get into that data. That's something we're really excited because then we can have a data driven conversation about what workforce housing really should mean. Where should those AMI bands go and get away from the politics of where people think they should be, right? And actually talk about facts.
What's real.
And
I know that's so popular in 2019 or facts.
We're going to run on facts. So that's like the kind of behind the scenes in the weed stuff, some of the projects. The other thing we're working on that's really exciting is a labor in the schools program. In the Bay Area, we're fortunate, especially in San Francisco. San Francisco State has a robust labor studies program. Headed up by John Logan over there, Bill Shields over at City College of San Francisco. There's a labor and community studies program. In the higher ed settings, the California Faculty Association and California Federation of Teachers have done a great job of getting that curriculum approved and set up. And there's a whole network of labor and community studies programs across the country. It's all in the higher ed setting. And something that we started talking about really on the heels of the Oakland Educators Association strike last year was, what are we doing to educate our pre-K to 12? In the labor rich, in terms of history, city like San Francisco, we have a lot of opportunities, whether it's through sponsoring field trips or getting our retarees and volunteers to come into the school and what's great is a lot of this stuff. We
used to get inquiries up north about schools wanting some kind of project. We had no idea what to do with it.
So we convened a meeting a few weeks back, and this was something I ran on when I put my name in the hat for this job. Was I really want to focus on labor in the schools for the elementary school kids, right, and middle school and high school. And there's all kinds of examples of where somebody got an idea, had the energy, maybe had a little bit of resources, money from a union or somebody, and they tried it. And they did mock bargaining with an economics class at 11th grade, level or something, or they did, and everybody had great experiences, but there hasn't been
really. And then they die. And then the project dies.
Or it's like somebody was like, yeah, that was fucking great, but nobody takes it to the next level.
Or it goes with that person, unfortunately, too. A lot of times that happens a lot in labor, too. Yeah. You have one person who has a lot of energy and a lot of kind of initiative. Or
we go too big. Not in our thinking,
that's
but
another
in
thing. Yeah.
They bite off a state commission.
It. Yeah.
They're like, we're going to do this. And the great thing is there is a state commission. It never got the $1.5 million it needed to like hire someone to do this, but we are going to try it in San Francisco. Our first 3 donors are a couple of community partners, and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has thrown her weight behind it financially. So we've actually got a little bit of seed money. Our unions are going to fund this in our next budget cycle next year. And we've got the president of the United Educators of San Francisco. We've got Fred Glass, who's a professor. We've got members from CFA that work in the Labor Research and Archives program.
Awesome.
We're just going to put like good, smart people together and come up with a proof of concept that can be manageable at the Unified School District level in San Francisco. Then see where it goes. Maybe we then get the LA Fed or someone else interested in trying this, and then we can talk about the state thing. But that's something that's
funny.
Exciting.
I had a thought cross my mind too.
But you've seen the coloring books, right? Like
all the teachers are union too. And it's the one thing they don't teach.
Well, it's funny. It's in the regs in the state, on the state level, that it's permissible to talk about basically everything from like the Pullman strike or the waterfront strikes all the way to Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. And there's an opportunity to do that, and it's permissible in different parts of the curriculum, whether it's social studies or economics. And when you think about math, I mean, everything we do in organized labor, it touches all these subjects, whether it's ethnic studies or, civil rights. I mean, we can be relevant, and there's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of hard truths and parts about our history that we have to confront in doing that. And I think that's actually healthy for our movement. So
it's the same with every institution of any organization anywhere.
Yeah. Right. So in addition to that, we're also going to try to build more. There's so much more. Build our capacity to support our affiliate unions. We've got, SCIU, USWW, and Unite Here taking on the airline industry on behalf of airline subcontracted workers, right? Employees, by the way, they're employees.
Okay.
Even these unscrupulous employers.
I can't point at me. It makes me
nobody
nervous.
Can see me pointing at you. Not even my mother. And so they're,
we're supposed to use your elbow.
My pinky. Airline catering workers are struggling across the country. Teamsters.
Right.
And Unite Here have a national contract fight with Sky Chef.
Industry's tough all the way through.
The Railway Labor Act. Talk about.
Yeah.
The name of your podcast, Subjects of Those contracts never expire.
That would be.
Can you imagine that? They become amendable.
It's its own podcast, the Railway Labor Act.
Holy, I'm not the guy to do it.
Yeah, you could do it. Sounds like you're not doing anything else anyway. As you rattle off like one project.
We've got
another.
Oh man, we're trying to we're trying to build upon.
Right. And you might be the guy. One thing I don't understand the solutions to, nor the problem particularly, because I'm kind of a suburbanite, but gentrification. Other than knowing it's a problem, but how do you deal with gentrification, or is it too big? Do we need a whole day for that?
We need a whole day for it. I think that the term gets used, overused, misused.
Because it's easy for somebody disenfranchised to just throw that out there. Because
it is. I mean, when I hear gentrification, I hear it talked about in, $5 cup of coffee shops, and it's like something about a hipster or something. But when I think about it in terms of the worker perspective, I think about San Francisco having 35% African Americans who are living on the streets, right? And severely need mental health care and housing assistance. But only a 3% population of African Americans that are left living as residents in San Francisco. That are on the book. So I think about that as gentrification, and what policies are being put in place to protect these marginalized workers. And then I also think about, like our mass incarceration problem. So when I think of gentrification, I think about.
But not only that, where are people going to live to make the $5 cup of coffee for fuck's sake? I mean, not everybody's going to be a captain of industry. Right?
If anything good has come out of the housing crisis and the affordability crisis, it's that we've, I think, evolved from a place of should we build or should we not build? And it's really a question of for whom should we build?
That other thing going through in the state, and you would know more about it than I, but the allowing people to without a permit process to add multi-units to their own homes, things like that.
Yeah, there was something in the Chronicle this morning about it. I just forwarded it to the head of our firefighters and our sprinkler fitters. It is a good idea.
To up capacity.
Yeah, but we have to be thoughtful about it. We have to be thoughtful about it, because you want to make sure there's protections in place so that we don't exacerbate some of the other symptoms of what you were talking about, gentrification,
or create more slumlords, or
Yeah, and you also want to make sure that the right safety provisions are in there, because I think sometimes we get a great idea and you want to waive laws, right? Laws that were put into place.
You mean like
a lot of times after fire sprinklers,
like Catalina scuba diving adventure,
building. Jeez. Brutal.
It's brutal.
They just put out more stuff this morning.
There you go. Can you imagine deregulation?
It's unreal.
No standards, no nothing.
And even the liability laws they cite are pre-Civil War era.
Right. Pack as many people on a boat as you can.
It's unbelievable.
Make money.
Yeah. On that note, that's a good note to end. No, but I wanted to talk about accessory dwelling units since you brought it up.
Yes.
If
accessory dwelling units,
ADUs, and that is a real solution. It's not universal, and it's not like that is the only solution.
What the fuck's an ADU?
An ADU is like, your parents are aging and you can't afford to put them in a
so you're like everybody else.
Right. Yeah. But maybe they move in with you, and maybe you use the space on your land to actually build them a cottage or something. Right.
Right.
We got to be smart when we do that. We got to think about what's a fire rescue scenario going to look like.